Hi there. I am Peyton West, assistant winemaker to Isabel Meunier in Lavinia at the Carlton Winemaker Studio, and I'm here today with a friend of mine, Andrew Rich, the owner and winemaker of Andrew Rich Wines, and we're going to be trying two of his wines today. They're in your wine club shipments for the spring, the portfolio shipment and the diverse shipment. How's it going, Andrew?
It's going great. It's going great. I'm glad you didn't call me the eponymous owner and winemaker for Andrew Rich Wines. I don't know. I don't like being called names.
That's fine. You know me. I only call you names when we get mad at each other.
Yeah. But I am, in fact, eponymous. But anyway.
How are you doing in this crazy, crazy time right now?
I'm doing okay. I mean, in the scheme of things, it's a little bit. It's strange days. During the beginning of the, it wasn't quite a quarantine, but we bottled the 18 Prelude and we bottled the 19 Sauvignon Blanc.
Right.
So that was the last.
Which, by the way, that Sauvignon Blanc is outstanding.
Oh, thank you.
So good. I tasted it a little bit before you guys bottled it.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I hand bottled a couple of cases and took it home.
I was wondering why we came up short. It was like, it all has been revealed.
Yeah, exactly.
I miss hanging out in the cellar with you and Hans and all the gang.
Totally.
But someday we'll get back to it.
Do you have any favorite drinks right now that you're quarantining with? Like a quarantini or something?
No, I'm not really a cocktail guy, although I did think of looking through my booze collection the other night. It just, that's
booze collection.
Yes, well, spirits. I'm sorry, spirits.
Okay, fair enough.
It's getting to that point, I think.
Yeah.
I have a very small collection, but what I find myself doing, and this is kind of terrible, it's like opening bottles of wine and then drinking a glass of it. Let's say a glass of it, and then just not going back to it the next day, just opening something else
because it's empty, because you drank the whole bottle.
Yeah, it's just what it's like.
Right.
Life's short.
Life's short. Might as well. We have nothing else to do anyway, right?
Yeah.
So speaking of drinking wines, the first wine that I'm gonna taste will be the Andrew Rich Marine 2016.
Correct.
Said the right name.
Yeah, I already poured myself. Happy hour seems to be starting earlier and earlier every day.
It does, yeah.
Pour myself a glass here.
Cheers. This smells amazing. I love it. I think that
smells like the sea. Not really. That's not why it's called marine, but that.
Of course. Yeah. Well, I mean, it does actually have kind of a slight seashell thing going on. I'm more on the palate, like the salinity part is on the palate. I don't think it's on the nose, but I do I really like this concept series you have for the elements, right? And it's volcanic, marine, and then glacial, right?
And the three Pinots are marine sedimentary, I should say, volcanic, and then Eola Amity or Eola, and then the glacial, which is the Washington Rhone blend.
Gotcha. Right.
And so the idea came to me when I was about to blend the 2014. So this would have been in 2000, late 15, beginning of 2016. So because we usually bottle Pinots after about 15 months or so.
Yeah.
And I had been doing my blends, putting my blends together based on sort of stylistic considerations. So, the soft, easygoing Pinot, the Prelude, which we still do.
Right.
And then Verbatim, which is kind of the classic Willamette Valley blend that represented the vintage and place broadly. And finally, Knife Edge. Remember the Knife Edge? And that wine was more of the cellar candidate, very structured.
Right.
So I thought there has to be a more compelling way to put these blends together.
Yeah.
And that's when I got the idea to try to really show people the influence of soil on Willamette Valley Pinot Noir. How does that what does that impart? And of course, our two main soil types are volcanic and marine sedimentary. So how the soils were formed back in the day, but
Right.
actually back before back in the day.
Of course. Yeah.
So yeah, so that's what these are. So each one is a a selection of barrels, multi-vineyard,
Yeah.
but each one includes only wine that
Right.
were from grapes that were grown in that soil type.
Yeah.
The marine sedimentary in 2016 is primarily Ribbon Ridge Vineyard, Croft Vineyard, and a vineyard that's was new to us in 2016 called Bednarik, which is a really really cool site. It was planted at this point over 30 years ago now. So it's own rooted Pommard vines, which are hard to come by these days.
Yeah, definitely.
Not a lot of own rooted vines out there. And yeah, it's an interesting site. It's kind of being brought back from neglect, I guess you could say. And yeah, we really like it. There's this depth you only get in old vines from old vines, and but it's not all ponderous. It's very late site, so it has it's very late. It's probably our one of our last Pinots to come in. Always seems to have pretty good acidity.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's really, really lovely. And I think that you've done a great job. I find that with the marine sedimentary soils, it's very easy. Anthony and I were talking about this. It's very easy to get out of hand structurally with your tannins because for whatever reason, that soil type tends to build dark chocolate rich styled tannins, chalky tannins, and chewy tannins. And I think you've done a really great job balancing making this wine and making I think probably the right style of fermentation management choices, because the tannins for being a 2016 are very, very subtle and soft and luscious, and they represent the wine on the palate with the acidity really, really well. And I find myself drinking wines that from those types of soils that tend to sometimes be kind of rip your face off structurally. And I think you did a nice job balancing that.
Yeah, I'm happy to report you still, according to Zoom, still have your face. So that's good. But no, I mean, I think Hans and I learned a lot. I think the tannins came around on the 14, which is our first one, which did not include Bednarik, but they were pretty aggressive initially. Yeah. And then they rounded out. This, I think, is the tannins are, I'm happy to report. So, I mean, this is 2 years in the bottle now. Let's see. No, 16, 18. Yeah, 2 years in the bottle. Yep. But the tannins are showing, they're very soft. Yep. There's great sweetness of fruit. It's ripe, but it's got that certain mineral component that you often get from these marine soils.
I agree. What would you consider the defining characteristic when you are blending for these wines, and you're blending for volcanic, and you're blending for marine, and you're blending for Eola and glacial? Are there specific characteristics that identify to you as that's what kind of makes a marine wine? That's what makes a volcanic wine?
Yeah, well, so that's it. That is, I mean, that's sort of the whole point, really. And, I would say, to generalize, you already mentioned that the marine sedimentary soils give you these wines that are perhaps a bit more structured. Yeah. In terms of tannin, I feel like they're often bluer, blacker, darker in fruit character and personality, if you can say that. Yeah. But a little bit more linear. I think this wine right now is quite plush, which I like, but still it has those. I'm talking with my hands here, but it's a little bit more linear, whereas the volcanic wines in Dundee Hills would be a good example. Dundee Hills, Eola, Amity Hills, rounder, plusher, more voluptuous even, and redder in fruit character. But I think, don't you find that in terms of that blue-black versus red fruit character, it's a little bit more pronounced. It's definitely more pronounced in the cooler vintages than in the warmer vintages. I think some of those distinctions are blurred a bit in the
Yeah.
warm vintages like 16. Which leads me actually to just quickly mention the Eola Amity.
Yeah.
That's not strictly about soil. That's because I like the Eola Amity Hills so much. It's probably my favorite.
I agree. It's my favorite too.
And but what I do like to say is that the defining element, as it were, of Eola Amity is the wind that comes through the Van Duzer corridor and cools
Yeah.
it down. So you've got these, more floral wines, brighter, often great acidity, and so really nice fresh wines with good
Yeah.
tension, as the Psalms like to say. And so I love that. So it has its own sort of element, which is, the
Yeah.
from the wind.
Is there a recommendation that you would have food wise to pair with this wine?
Well, it's Pinot Noir, so it goes with everything. But
Yeah.
what I flashed on just now was
Yeah.
duck.
Duck. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, I agree.
Wouldn't that
Yeah.
be great? Because it's got the it's got the structure, and it's
I
got
agree. Yeah.
enough, and it's got enough acidity, even given it's a warm year, to cut that fat.
I agree.
Um,
Yeah.
that could be great. But yeah, I mean, it's Pinot. You can have it with just about anything.
I like that answer.
Yeah.
I like that answer. Pair it with anything.
Syrah, on the other hand, you know who Otto Lengi is?
No, I don't.
So Otto Lengi's got, he's written a bunch of cookbooks that are basically, from a Mediterranean. They encompass sort of the greater Mediterranean, Middle East, and the Mediterranean, and a lot of vegetarian dishes in there, not exclusively, but yeah. So some of those Mediterranean spices, I think, those warm brown spices.
Gotcha.
Anything, you roast vegetables. The easiest thing in the world to do is everyone does roast vegetables on a sheet pan, and they get caramelized and brown, and you get some of those flavors, which are in a way a little bit meaty,
More savory. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that could really help a lot. Also in Washington, the Syrahs often have an herbal note, kind of a garrigue, that kind of Provençal herbs, as well as olive note. So anything that incorporates those things, I think, especially in vegetable dishes, could be really good as well.
Yeah, let's move to Syrah for sure. So I'm going to let you introduce this wine so you can say it correctly, and then explain to us what the name means.
All right. So this is the 2013. That's right, 2013 Syrah, the Vino Fas. The Vino Fas is French, more or less, for the vines or vineyards opposite or across from each other. And the origin of this wine, so first of all, I should probably say that this is not a Willamette Valley Syrah. This is a Columbia Valley Syrah, and in fact, it's a Red Mountain Syrah, combining wines from Clipson Vineyard and Ciel du Cheval Vineyard. They are almost literally across the street from each other, across the road from each other, so en face, facing opposite. But the wines couldn't be more different. So Clipson, which was sold and we stopped working with it at that point, gave us these monster Syrahs that quite tannic. Red Mountain's known for its tannins anyway, but sort of very bold, big wines, very tannic wines. And then Ciel du Cheval always gave us much more feminine, if you will, wines. Tannins easier to manage, more elevated acidity. So we usually would have pretty high pHs from Clipson and more moderate pHs from Ciel.
Okay.
And what I found was by marrying the two, I could often make a wine that was interesting and balanced and, more complex than either one of them. When I went back to it to write a note for the club offering, I hadn't tasted it probably in a couple years. and I was surprised at how round the tannins were. I don't know if you would agree with that,
I do.
but you know, it's like it sort of. I mean, obviously, I was pleased with that, but so
Right.
much fruit, and it's a big wine, but it doesn't come off as ponderous or, you know, a one note. I don't think.
No, I agree.
Um,
I agree completely. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for taking time out of your really busy day.
I know. I said it was a little hard to squeeze you in, but I'm glad we did. It was a lot of fun,
Yeah,
Peyton.
it was a lot of fun. And stay safe, stay healthy, and yeah, we'll talk soon.
Okay,
All
take
right.
care.
See you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.